"Mommy, mommy, wake up, mommy." I remember yelling at the top of my lungs as my mother lay in a coma, slumped over the bathroom tub. Her shoestring still tied tightly around her arm, and a syringe lay on the floor close to her body. She was just seconds away from dying from a drug overdose, and I was scrawled all over my mother's limp body, smacking the hell out of her. I was pleading for her to wake up. I remember turning on the cold water in the tub and pouring it all over her face, trying to wake her up. My yells turned into cries of desperation as I still got no response from the woman who I loved so much. The woman who took care of me, the only woman I knew. As her head lay cradled in my arms, I saw her life begin to slip away. She no longer looked like my mother. I pushed her eyelids open to see if she was still there, but all I got was a cold, empty stare. What more could a 5-year-old do but cry and ask God, "Please don't let my mommy die." Then, as if my cries were being heard from above, an angel was sent to me. Not your ordinary angel, but a black knight in shining armor. That black knight was my Uncle Chris, who emerged seemingly out of nowhere, towering over me with an aura of invincibility. As he stood in the doorway, suddenly I didn't feel so helpless. I didn't feel so alone. If there was a God, he or she had answered my prayers. My uncle, who was much bigger and stronger than I was, began to resuscitate my mother, smacking her much harder than I could. He picked her up and placed her into the tub, running cold water all over her body. He told me, "Run into the kitchen, look into the refrigerator, and get some milk." I stood frozen for a second. I'm thinking, milk? Here it is, my mother is lying in a coma about to die, and you want me to get some milk? I later would come to understand that milk was commonly used to bring down a person's high or bring them out of an overdose. Within a few minutes of performing this overdose ritual, my uncle had did what I didn't think was possible. He had given me back my mommy. Still in a delusional state, she turned to her 5-year-old son, and all she could say was, "Dwayne, I'm sorry." So happy that she was still alive, all I can say was, "Mommy, I love you."
All right, family, make sure you support Black Dot. Go to shopurbanx.com. Wow, he made me shed a tear with that one. Last week I told y'all when I seen that one. Amazing book so far. I just started reading it. Absolutely amazing book. Shopurbanx.com. Gotta laugh to keep from crying. Shout out to Black Dot. With that being said, oh my God, y'all! Wow, tonight is a special night. It is Friday night. It's Friday night. We got an amazing show. So if you have anybody you love, family, I want you to tell them right now. Send them a link. Tell them that we are live, because this one is definitely going to benefit humanity. I want to take this time to welcome back to the show Miss Blue and Erin Lyons. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you.
All right. How are y'all doing this evening?
Wow. Good. Doing really good. Thank you so much. It is a pleasure. It's an honor, Brother Rich, to come back and to be with Erin, and for us to be here tonight with the family. I'm excited. I'm good. Yeah.
Indeed.
Doing well, excited to be here, and very curious to see what magic is co-created.
All right, well, here we go. How y'all doing in the audience? How y'all doing in the chat? I see a couple of regulars. Alchemy Avenue. Shout out to Alchemy Avenue. New Diamonds. Shout out to New Diamonds and everybody else. Ascending Infinite Goddess. Oh, today's 6/6, huh? Yeah, they're like, it's
yes.
6.
Oh, yeah.
6. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so listen, I want to start the show. I want to play a clip that kind of set the tone. This clip is from Drink Chaps. I hope Nori don't give me Nori, I bought your first album, please. I'm not going to show the video. I just want to play the audio, but please, this is for educational purposes. I be hearing people saying fair use. So fair use. Nori, I'm just using this for educational, spiritual purposes. Let me play this quick clip. I don't want to show the video, So I'm gonna take it off real fast, but I'm gonna play the clip for y'all. So let me turn it up. All right, check this out, y'all. This is good. Check this out. Why is it not playing? Hold on.
People talk about that when you hit rock bottom is when you'll make a change. But there's a corresponding place that I call cliff top, right?
Like you could be too high.
Where you get so high that you realize literally none of the stuff can make you happy. Right. After you can get to the end of the material world. You get to the end of money. You get to the end of sex. You know, you get to the end of fame. You have so much, and then you like go off of a cliff into the same kind of abyss that you'd be scared of slipping into at rock bottom. Right, where life loses all of its ability to sustain and please you. Right. And then the only thing that's left, the same thing at rock bottom, the only thing that's left at cliff top is you have to find what you're actually looking for, and what you're actually looking for is you. You're looking for you. You're running around. Right? When you like a woman and you like being with a woman, it's because you like how you feel. Right. You like what's happening inside of you. Mm-hmm. When you have money, it's like, yeah, it's cool to buy things, but it's not the money. You like how you feel inside. Right. It's unleashing a feeling inside. Mm-hmm. And at rock bottom and at cliff top, what you have to learn how to do is generate that feeling without anything external. You have to learn how to like you so much that you like being alive so much that you bring positive energy that's not generated by stuff. Mm.
All right, let's end it. Wow. That was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Because so many people think, well, maybe if I just had $100 million, my life will be different. Maybe if I had cars, maybe if I had a woman, maybe if I had a husband, maybe if I had this, maybe if I had that, my life will be different. And you have somebody who has achieved so many things, so many people are striving for, and he's saying, yo, bottom is the same as what's the term he used? Cliff top. He said he felt like he was falling into the same abyss. Incredible way to explain that.
Mm-hmm.
Explaining that, Will Smith, for those who may not have experienced that, explain it to us so we could be like, wow, okay, that's how it is. The purpose of the show with these two ladies, Miss Blue, Erin Lyons, the purpose of me sharing that clip, I wanted us to have more in the name of the show, the multidimensional nature of I Am. I think that we are approaching life from, and even our affirmations, we're freeing it, we're saying it from our humanity instead of our. And when we have this humanity approach to spirituality, we will get humanity results. I think that we have to understand our multidimensional nature. And Will Smith saying we're all looking for you, ourselves, at the end of the day. And it's kind of weird, y'all, because the weird thing is that they taught us to not be selfish, but it seems like the spiritual journey about this is kind of a selfish journey. Really think about it. So with that being said, I'm on the show.
I love it.
So it's like with that being said, what's your thoughts on the clip? What's your thoughts on us viewing humanity from a more multi-dimensional perspective instead of the, hey, I'm just the ego, I'm the human body? Even when people say, hey, I'm God having a human experience, we still, from our heart, approach it from a humanity perspective with how we act and the limited mindsets that we have. So talk to me about the clip and also viewing the world from our multi-dimensional nature.
So sweet.
I'm gonna let y'all talk. Let y'all talk.
Well, this makes me, well, really what I'm hearing is this concept of implanted desire.
Mm.
We can have it implanted desire that from the moment we're born, the matrix is telling us you should want this. You should go after this. Your value, your worth is based on you accomplishing, achieving, or attaining this. And the problem with that is we get those things, but we're still empty inside.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a difference between a desire that truly arises in the soul, meaning the soul just wants to experience. It's not an attachment to something.
Right.
It's just an experience, which is the infinite experience of self as source. But when you have these implanted desires, so your ego is louder than your soul, you get lost in the matrix. That's how I see this.
Yeah. Yeah. So profound. And, you know, I was listening to Will, which I haven't heard that, by the way, that I love the way he explained that. And it really is it's both of the same side of the coin. A lot of times what happened, you know, like Erin was saying, when we're born, we're taught to desire things from a human perspective. But if you think about it this way, many of us are just coming into the knowledge of being multidimensional. We've lived in a world that has been so singular for so long that if you are this, then you cannot be this. You understand? And so when it comes to the path of understanding things, we are just now really understanding about the mind. And so for centuries, eons, we have allowed the mind to be the leader of what is happening. And the mind is designed for the 3D world. The mind is designed for those things. And so everything in this world has taught us, whether we've been indoctrinated into these systems, either through our family, that somehow, like you were saying, Erin, it's something we have to attach who we are to everything outside of ourselves. The real question, if we take a step back, what triggers this? Two things. Who am I? That's the first trigger that we enter into. Now, some of us enter into that and we go down the abyss of trying to understand that we are more than just our physical bodies and just, you know, here to obtain things and experience things in the physical and the extent of our worth, because that's what people value. When they're saying, when we first learn who am I, it really code word for what am I worth here? Why am I here? Most people begin to question, why am I even here? It's not really who am I? You don't get to that. So after you hit a couple of rock bottoms, you know, a couple of slippery slopes, and then you say, wait a minute, who am I? You know, but prior to that is, what is my worth? What is my value? And what did I come here for, you know, in the world? So that's the first thing when it comes, because we've been trained to only use our mind. And all the stories about you're only using a short percentage of your mind, you know, these are now outdated ways of thinking and being, but the world still hasn't caught up. They still are living, many, by that code.
Indeed. Great way to put it, y'all. Let me say this. I remember reading a book. Oh, I was probably about 23 years old. I forget. I was in my 20s. I know I was in my 20s. There was a book that came out, because remember, The Secret came out.
Oh yeah.
And then after The Secret, so many books surrounding the law of attraction came out. And there was a book called Conversations with God.
Neil Donald Walsh.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
So in that book, one of the controversial things Donald Walsh said was that he was like, now this is a book that he that was channeled, and he was having a conversation with God. And I guess automatic writing, they will call it. That's how he wrote the book. And one of the things he said that was controversial was that he was like, hey, I talked to God. Hitler's in heaven. He said, Hitler's in heaven. I want to ask you, since this is what we call, since this is a movie, what we call this a movie. In every movie, there's good guys and there's bad guys. That's what makes a movie a movie. There's got to be a good guy. If everybody's good, the movie just ain't a movie. So if this is a movie and there's good guys and there's bad guys, then maybe the bad guys are living out their purpose just like the good guys are living out their purpose. What I want to ask you is that, because I know y'all do readings for people. If somebody come to you and they like, yo, I'm a hardcore gangster. I do this, I do that. I'm not trying to stop. And they truly feel like genuinely this, because we're talking about our identity, our I am presence, or our beyond the physical, beyond the ego. What advice, what would you tell somebody who genuinely feels, it may not be as extreme as a Hitler, but they feel like, yo, I'm not that nigga to fuck with. I do this and I do that. I do crime. How does somebody like y'all approach an individual like that?
You know what's interesting? At the God Fest in Atlanta, people were coming up to me. One of the gentlemen, he was a former pimp, actually.
Wow.
He told me he was a pimp.
Yeah.
He's talking about what he wanted to do with his life. And he's like, honestly, I haven't felt passion since I was a pimp. And I feel shame about that. And I was telling him, I was breaking it down why that was a part of his soul's journey. So I want to expand everybody into the architecture of your oversoul.
Yes.
What us as humans might judge as negative or bad, when we really look beneath the layers, why is somebody doing that? Why is somebody a cartel boss or a gangster or a thug or this and that? There's so many embedded lessons. And from the perspective of the oversoul, it wants to experience as many frequencies and possibilities that are available. It wants to be every character in the movie at some point, this multidimensional movie. And this is about working through shame. Everyone here has experienced a version of themselves that their ego might want to judge. But I invite you to love that part of yourself, understanding that there was something deeper. There is something that your soul wanted to experience to contribute to the expansion, not just for your individual oversoul, but the entirety of creation. So this is all perfection. This is all divine. This is all holy. And that's how we have to start relating to all of the characters we're witnessing and co-creating with in the game.
Miss Blue, before you start, Erin wanted you to please explain oversoul. Could you just explain that real quick before?
So your oversoul is the highest peak of your consciousness that is experiencing every single dimension simultaneously. And I know people like to talk about, 12D and down, but really I see it as infinite dimensions from what I've personally experienced. It just it goes on and into eternity. There's a 100D, right? So really, okay, this is omnidimensional consciousness, the omnidimensional field of awareness. It's everywhere at all times. We can't calculate it. These things are so funny.
Yes.
So your oversoul holds the awareness of every fractal of your own energy as it's experiencing consciousness.
Powerful.
All right. Excellent. Miss Blue, you want to add on to that, Miss Blue?
Yeah. So my first experience with someone of that nature was actually someone who was a murderer. And they had actually got off. I have spoke about this years ago on my show, so I feel comfortable talking about it here, but he had done some harm to a child who was a girlfriend of a woman he was dating, and the child passed away. And I remember when I first was going in, I was doing an Akashic record reading. And so when I was going in, I immediately seen a table, like a console table with the child hiding underneath the console table. And so I kept, okay, like what am I seeing here? And so he's talking to me, but he's talking about something completely different. And then I realized that the child underneath the table is him. That's him. And as we get further into the conversation, it was my first impression. and I'm sure Erin knows what this is like, when you have a first impression of coming in contact with an energy of someone who he becomes a template. So we all carry certain avatar templates. And when I'm doing readings, I can pick up certain templates. And I picked up the template. It was my first time of someone who was a murderer. First of all, I'll say this. The fact that he was talking to me, I know his soul was seeking something different, some sort of expansion. And he had fulfilled whatever that experience was that his soul initially came back to experience. And through our conversation is when I told him, you want to tell me about what happened with you and this child in the car. And he confessed that to me, you know, but he confessed it, but he also confessed his trauma of what he grew up with as a child. It's crazy because when you played the presentation from Black Dot, it kind of took me back to his memory, because these were some of the things. His mother was on drugs and, you know, often left alone, and he was always afraid of the dark. And, you know, adults had been very reckless in his life with him. And so I don't want to get too far from the question, but staying with that to say, many people think that there's such a thing that if I am good here, then somehow that's going to be some sort of big win for me when I leave here, you know, and it doesn't work that way. Everyone has come back. I keep telling people there's nothing wrong with Earth. Like Earth is going to keep earthing, and it's supposed to be this way. It's not going to change. However, you know, if you have a calling within yourself to experience, to be, to do, to express in this lifetime. And that's how you get together with your soul groups. Like all of us is in a soul group. So there may be a few people in this soul group that say, no, I'm not jiving with none of that they saying. But somewhere in there, you would not even be in this sphere if you could not even conceptualize this at a deeper level within your own consciousness and your soul. So there is no good, there is no bad. You don't get punished. No one forced you to come here, and no one's forcing you to stay. Like we're sovereign beings. We're not being held hostage here. And this isn't a place of punishment, but there has been histories and history books and Bibles and sacred texts that want you to believe that somehow we sent you to Earth because you did something wrong. You fell here. This is a downfall of you. Now, you can look at that logically to say that your soul is so big that Earth could not contain. You don't have all of your soul here. So this is the purpose of the oversoul. You cannot, your soul couldn't fit on, it couldn't fit in your body, and it damn sure can't fit on
What
Earth.
percentage is down here, Miss Blue? What percentage is down here?
It's a small percentage. I don't even know if you could even
Calculate it.
Yeah,
Quantify,
you
yeah.
can't, because you know what we're talking about? We're talking about subatomical particles. We're talking about frequency. And one of the things that I've been seeing, and I'm curious, Erin, if you've been seeing this, I've seen a lot of people turn their original blueprint in for another experience here on the planet. So, you know, when you think about people like Kanye West, he really reincarnated here on Earth. He brought another aspect of his soul here, you know, and he's not the only one. There's been a few people on the planet that have sort of reincarnated while they're here. They're still the same person, but their mission, their goal, and how they're expressing and experiencing themselves here as this avatar has greatly changed in a lot of different ways. It's not a walk-in. Someone hasn't walked into their physical body. Some people say that about a lot of people, that, hey, somebody must have took over them because they're so totally different. But they're not. They're just, it's just another aspect of their soul, you know?
I want to quickly go back to Hitler. What I've seen with these types of soul contracts is sometimes the most difficult
Mm.
mastery is self-forgiveness. Imagine when you leave this encasement and
Ooh,
you have to witness that
you
because of
did
your
this.
presence here, yes, millions of people suffered. But this is what happens. You leave the encasement and you will experience all of the pain and the suffering that you
You
caused.
caused. Yes.
And
You
the
caused.
greatest mastery is, even still, can I accept that source
Mm.
still loves me unconditionally and I'm still welcomed back in the kingdom of heaven,
Yes.
which is just the eternity of who we all are, which is pure love.
Yes.
So a lot of these contracts, when we're talking about murderers and rapists and
Mm-hmm.
people that just mass massacre entire groups of people,
People. Yeah. Whew.
they have to sit with the
Mhm.
lesson of self-forgiveness.
Yeah.
Also, when I'm doing shamanic work and we're talking about entities and attachments, a lot of those attached
Yes.
energies can't forgive themselves, so they're living out a loop. And how we actually help them cross over or
Mm-hmm.
release that small, because they're all of their energy is not trapped here. It's just these little soul memory fragments.
Yes.
Mm.
It's getting them to see the bigger picture.
Yes.
I don't know
Mhm.
if you see things like that as
I
well.
do. Absolutely. And you made a good point. There is no heaven or hell. It is what you have, what the being has caused. You
Mhm.
understand? We all get to go to heaven. And that's whatever, like you were saying, it's whatever you have created here. You get to experience that because in essence, the universe, if you can look at it this way, the universe source does not judge.
Mhm.
It doesn't judge. So if think about Hitler, you are doing all of this. So what you're saying is, this is what I want to experience. I want to experience that. But here's something else that I have also come working with my guides and working with people to understand is that a soul is not forced to grow. So there are people who are here, they're not forced to grow. You're not forced to grow. You don't have to expand your consciousness. You
Mm.
don't. You don't have to. And even when you leave this reality, it's still your soul's choice whether you want to evolve past this point or not. You can stay in that same existence. And we see this being played out in our physical world here. If you see a rock, that rock is just rocking. I mean, it's just rocking. It's not trying to become, do, or be at this moment. We have sort of these definitive things in our reality so that we can understand that consciousness lives in everything and there is a free will within that choice of that consciousness. And
You
that
know,
is the power of waking up because when you come into that realize, like, it's mind blowing, like, wow, you know?
what source is bringing through right now is, what if to really know who you are, you have to experience who you are not?
There it is. Yeah.
Maybe you have to be a Hitler
Yeah.
and then you review that incarnation and you go,
Yeah.
I'm the true totality of me is the polar opposite of that.
Yes.
But I couldn't know that unless I
That's
had
right.
an experience of not being that which I truly am. And that's really, I'm hearing this as the technology of darkness, or what we would
We call
perceive is evil.
darkness.
There's actually a sacred technology to it. There's
Mhm.
something there's a medicine and value that it gives the soul that are not available, that's not available through what we would call a good, positive,
There it is. Yeah.
loving, compassionate
Passionate.
incarnation, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes you've got to play the devil.
That's right. Because in order for us to be here and be on this path, what I've seen is because there was a time we wasn't. And so now we're choosing, like you're saying, we're choosing to come back and be of love and life. And we want to expand our consciousness and we want to do all of these things. When I do
Mm.
people Akashic record readings, and depending on the lifetime that comes up, especially when you feel a deep calling or, something deep within you that says, I must do this work, whatever that work may be. It could be have a family. It could be standing up for your culture, the people. It could be, it could be 100 different things. It's because that you have experienced the other side of it, or you were inflicted by some of these things in a prior past life. Most of the souls on the planet are old souls. And it's a few that I call SME souls, meaning you kind of knew, you've been here, but you ain't been here that long. You've been some other places. And then we have new souls. And new souls came back to learn about compassion. They came back to learn about what it means to give and to be thoughtful for others, because they don't have those experiences. Old souls, we came back to learn how to love ourselves. It's the hardest thing to do. We can love everybody else, but the tough is, can I put this love in ourselves? And we've been programmed to feel that that is ego. Everything that we have learned textbook about ego is a lie. That is not true. That is a lie.
That was one of my questions later on. I'm glad.
That's a
We're
lie.
going to touch on that. Let me ask you this. Wow, what a way to start the show so far, family. Shout out to everybody in the audience. Wow. Make sure y'all are prepared mentally, spiritually. Wow, it is started. Wow. Let me ask y'all this. Okay, so based on what y'all just said, I'm thinking I know a lot of people was questioning God's intentions with this experiment. Let me ask you this. I want to bring up a figure. This figure is Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, number one, he's a Virgo, so shout out to Virgos, the greatest people on the face of the earth. Shout out to all the Virgos, the greatest people on the face of the earth. Michael Jackson is known as the greatest musician in recorded history that we know of. I mean, the man's my son is 6 and my son listens to Michael Jackson's music.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know how he found it somehow and how he moonwalks and he goes like this, like he got a hat on. Michael Jackson is absolutely nobody like it on the planet. Nobody like that at least that we've known of. This man, now let me tell you something. With that being said, this man who had probably one of the most I done seen people pass out. Just he stood still on stage and they passing out. Now, this man, check this out. Because Erin talked about the journey earlier. This man went through hell from his father. Joe Jackson put him through the fire. Joe Jackson put him through the fire. A lot of abuse took place. A lot of you're gonna do what I say to do, not what you want to do. A lot of things that a lot of us in the spiritual community would be like, oh my God, that is absolutely horrible. But this is what he did to create what we call Michael Jackson, regardless of what the outcome was, and maybe he didn't like his complexion. That's what I'm just talking about is his talent right now with the music. So what I want to ask you, the criticism that we give Joe Jackson, because I'm not going to be a parent like that. I know y'all not parents like that. I know most of the people in the chat ain't parents like that. But that parent produced one of the greatest souls on planet Earth in recorded history. What I want to ask you is, if we criticize Joe Jackson, what about Source, God? Because God through the fire.
You know what?
The fire Michael Jackson went through is the same fire Source put us through to create the beat we see today.
I love your mind, brother.
Oh my goodness. I know, right? The way you put these questions together is just
oh my goodness.
But the fire Joe Jackson put Michael through, Source put us through to create what we're going to, our chemical process, to create the collective Michael Jackson. So if we're going to criticize Joe Jackson, should we also criticize Source, God, the universe, or whatever name you want to call it?
Well, do you want to? You can go. It's
okay. So Rich, what about this?
Yes.
Source is saying, how about you put yourself through
Yes.
what you needed to go
Yes.
through
To get to where you need to be.
yes, and activate the purpose that you wanted to live out. Now let's look at this figure, this energy that is Michael Jackson. Why so iconic?
Mm,
I want to break this down on a sound geometry level.
mhm.
People love Michael Jackson because he is a channel for universal love. It is a
Yes.
universal frequency.
Yes.
How do we know that? He touched every group of people, every race, every ethnicity, men, women. Your
Yes.
6-year-old child is
That's
still
right.
able to recognize a resonance with that frequency.
Yes.
This is somebody who was I'm hearing this as a source songstress,
Yes.
being able to channel the purest vibrations of creation. That's why we love it. It's universal music.
Yes.
If you're going to be a channel for universal love, wouldn't you have to understand universal pain?
Clock it.
Shit.
Yes.
So that role that Joe Jackson had to play,
Yes.
Michael Jackson's personal devil tormentor,
Yes.
was to invoke and turn
Mm-hmm.
on the codex of his oversoul to get him there.
To
Now,
get him
it
there.
doesn't always have to happen that way, by the way, but in this dimension, because it's dualistic, and the whole point of this particular playground is that these frequencies exist. He designed his contract to go through some darkness to understand the pain of humanity and
Mhm.
alchemize that pain through his music.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear
Yeah.
your perspective, Ms.
Yes. Oh no, you did that so much justice. Beautiful. And here's something else to think about. When we decide to incarnate, it is an agreement between mother, father, and child. It's an agreement.
Everybody.
That is an agreement that we made. And in this agreement, we decided, listen, this time I'm going to be Michael. I'm going to be the son. And you are going to be the father, like Erin was saying. And so that is the way that his soul needed to invoke what he had to bring to the world. This is why he was often compared to the archangel Michael. If you look at the archangel, you will see the similarity, that universal love, the one that is a protector. And he was a protector in so many ways. But even that thing that he was considered to be, Michael Jackson, the protector of children, was something that they attempt to tarnish his name with that same credence of what he came for. But getting back to source, and do we blame source? Well, source is a part of it. And I'm glad the word source is being used more now instead of, because when we say that word God, like we have on the planet, we have a twisted understanding of what God really mean. Are we talking about the God who sits over earth, or are we talking about the supreme source? Because that they're two different things. You understand? And so when you look at that way, we were not put here to be in pain. But a part of our process, because this reality is the way it is, you get to choose. Now, many of us don't have the remembrance of what we're choosing. And so we do come from families where there has been abuse. We have been in situations growing up that were very tumultuous. Some of us are still in those situations that are there. But when the soul has the opportunity to remember, then the soul can expand its consciousness and awareness. And so we will always have these stories, even if you look at the Jackson 5 family and where they came from, very humble beginnings, where they lived in, what was it, a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom house, little apartment, and how they slept and how they ate. Some would say that would be the driving force, but that was really what sort of activated all of them to go on their natural paths. Mm-hmm. And this is why people will tell you, you grow through pain. Well, that's a way, but we have expanded our consciousness now. That's not the only way. So as you expand your consciousness, you can choose to, do I still have to have pain? Do I still have to have something to trigger me into growth, or can I step into my own divine consciousness, my God consciousness, and become the creator and create instead of growing through pain? And so when you look at that, no one was put here to be punished per se. Did that happen? Absolutely. I think we all probably have a situation where if we went back, we could say, well, if I know what I know now, I would have chose something different. Or many people will ask, well, why would I choose a family where my mother is an addict or my father is this? Well, you're choosing from a higher aspect that understand that this is a temporary reality and that you are only here in this moment, and as real as it seems, it is not the alpha and the omega. It is not the beginning and the end. You are somewhere in the crevices of trying to even get a piece of what is in between. And so this is a blink in time. So if I were to ask you right now, Brother Rich, you want to go hang out? And you say, well, how long I got to be there, Miss Blue? Oh, we just want you to hang out with us for maybe about 2 days. Well, that's 2 days there. Down here, that's about 70 years. So, now you didn't agree to go on a 2-day trip. Now you down here for 70 years and you trying to figure out, like, wait a minute, what am I here to do? This is the quest. This is the journey, the hero's journey. You're on that journey now. Now, many of us are on that journey, and some people are on that journey. And guess what? They clueless, and they don't care that they clueless. They don't have to wake up. They don't have to know about any of this. They don't have to know any of this. They just live in their life. And that's their choice. As a soul, they get to do that. And I always tell people, stand back from the judgment, because maybe they already figured out what you figured out. And they came back this time and said, I don't want no responsibilities. Wow. I just need to let me be a stand-in in somebody else's reality. That's it. I don't want no responsibilities whatsoever. Don't wake me up to shit. Let me stay asleep, okay? I'm going to go work. I'm going to come home. I'm going to complain. I'm going to have my kids. I'm going to have my family, and I'm going to keep it pushing. I'm going to go to church, or I'm going to go to the mosque. I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do. That is their choice. But you have to know that because of the work that was done before us, whether we're talking about ancestors or either our past lives, we have created an opportunity for us to be who we are now. And that is forever going. We're multidimensional. The moment you lock yourself into something, the game, it's like you done maxed out. Where are you going? You ain't got no more lifesavers. You maxed out. You're maxed out. But if you understand that, you can continuously allow yourself to go where your soul is calling you and not feel like you're trapped. Beautiful.
Beautiful. And I think this, y'all doing such a magnificent job of connecting us to our identity and not being judgmental. I notice y'all, I'm hearing a Robert Edward Grant use that word, not judge. Keep hearing that word, not judging, not judging, not judging. So I'm definitely taking note. Rick Ross said, God don't judge, but I do. Something like that. Shit. Let me ask you this. So growing up, because I just said Rick Ross, growing up, let's say, I grew up in Harlem. And you will hear a lot of the older brothers talk about getting caught up in street life. And they would say, young blood, there's only 2 ways out if you're in that street life. Dead or in jail. That's what they would tell. Some of them would tell the younger brothers. If you get caught up in that street life, there's 2 ways out, dead or in jail. And they said that because there was countless examples of the street life about how you would end up if you followed that path. Now, I'm using that as an analogy. One of these wild questions. So using that as an analogy. We're on the spiritual path. We're not on the street path. We're on the spiritual path. But we also have countless examples of people that came before us. They may not end up dead or in jail, but they end up dead or burnt on a stake like the witches that end up burnt and crucified like Jesus. That end up like so many other people who wanted to tell the world about this beautiful information. Miss Blue, Erin Lyons, Brother Rich wanted to tell the world. So many countless examples, like the street got countless examples. We got countless examples of people, the Inquisition, the Holy Roman Empire. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, millions of examples where they tortured people for teaching what y'all teaching, what I'm teaching. What makes us different? If the OG is telling the young brother, this is what's going to happen to you because of the past, somebody might say, Miss Erin, your daddy, your mommy, Miss Blue, your daddy, your mommy, your husband, boyfriend, whatever, they might say, listen, I don't want you into that stuff because this is what happens to people that are into stuff like you. Yeah, y'all, what makes us different that we won't be the Jesus, we won't be the witches, we won't be the wizards, we won't be this group, we won't be that. What makes us different in 2025, y'all?
Wow.
It's okay. It's okay. Through my lens, it's not that you can guarantee that won't be your fate. It's that your mission has to be more powerful than your fear. And every single person you mentioned, Jesus and the witches and all these people who were persecuted, that persecution was necessary for them to leave a sort of a clear reminder. You know, I want to use this example. I did a really interesting channeling a few years back with Kobe Bryant.
Oh, yeah.
His spirit came through. And when Kobe Bryant's spirit, fellow Virgo, I think. I know you love that. His spirit came through and he was talking about how he was always going to have a tragic death because it would make the legacy echo louder. And then I'm channeling him, and then the spirit of Tupac comes in and he says the same thing. I accomplished so much in a short amount of time and I needed to die in this sort of dramatic way. Now we can compare that to Jesus. Someone who we're talking about him 2,000 plus years later needed to die in a very dramatic way because it represented something. So I can speak for myself when I say my mission, my purpose to be a channel for pure truth, light, love, and wisdom means more to me, even if it brought me to my death, because the truth is eternal. You can't suppress the truth.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Powerful. I love it. And I had a similar channel from Malcolm X. And he shared, because I had so many people who told me that message to the Black man is what brought them into consciousness when I first started doing work. And when Malcolm came through and he told me, he said, listen, you understand that when it is your time to go, because it's all self-doing.
Yes.
You understand? It's all self-doing. If you think about your life, if you're past the age of in your mid to 20s, you have had at least 3 to 4 opportunities that you could have left. There's only so many ways at this time to get out of the physical body. And so think of it. Some people may say, well, you know how you have that cousin or that aunt, and they say, so dramatic. They would pass on their birthday or Mother's Day or Father's Day. The soul is choosing and participating in the way that these souls leave and for the cause.
Yes.
And, like Erin was saying, for me, these are real things that I know that anyone who's on this path who are doing it with their love. But let's take it out of spirituality, because the truth is everything you do is spiritual as beings here, right? There are people who have gone through some very horrific things, and they're school teachers who are very passionate and they are committed to teaching and educating our children and people in the world, that they have been put in situations where they have been held hostage or killed. So I don't want anyone to, start thinking, well, let me just stay out of their little situation and I won't have that. Maybe I'm a passionate baker, or, maybe I'm someone who's an artist and I sing. We've seen that in that, in that scenario a lot. But it happens with anything that your soul comes. There's a point where, as my daddy would say, you're either all in or you're not.
Yes. Yes.
That's it. You're either all in or you're not. And I had to make that decision. And that was the day that I got my orders from the universe. I'm not no longer working on my orders. I get orders from source. And that's why it looks different. That's why the understanding is different. That's why we all can keep doing this work the way that we're doing. And yes, I'm sure there's a degree that I do care what people say, but it's a whole lot. I don't have time to really get into whether you like it or you don't, because it's something, it's a bigger picture for everything, even myself, that I had to learn how to overcome to be able to continuously do the work. So for anyone out there that has that passion, that love, you ask yourself, what is that thing that no matter what people tell you, it's like being in an unhealthy relationship. They keep telling you, girl, why you keep going back? What is you doing over there with him? And they just keep going back and back and back. It's something you can't break. You understand? It's that calling. It's also that thing that you love, that you're going to do it regardless if anyone's watching, regardless if anyone likes it. How many artists have painted paintings and crafted things that they were told was junk and it's nothing? And they put it out in the world and everybody loves it, or at least the people that is there, and it's self-fulfilling for their soul. So,
if they tell us, I'm glad you said that, Miss Blue. If they tell us the universe, like we're talking about the universe, if they tell us, like we hear so many of the new age speakers say that the language of the universe is mathematics. And the language of the universe is mathematics, and we can predict everything with mathematics. So we got numerology, we got different sciences that tap into mathematics. But they also say that the universe was made from pure love.
yes.
How can love be quantified from mathematics? If mathematics is the language of the universe, but the language of the universe is also love, they seem like they could contradict each other, because love is not mathematics from my understanding. So,
remember what they're really talking about is everything is frequency and vibration and resonance.
Okay.
And so mathematics, numbers carry a energy, it carries a frequency, it carries a vibration. And when you bring that into this reality, there is a polarity. You understand? There's levels to that shit. There's levels to the number one. There's levels to the frequency of number two. There's levels to that. Now, as powerful as love is, and let me see if I can articulate this. As powerful as love is, that's not the highest vibration on earth. It is connected with source because it is love encompass, or what we defined as that thing that is unconditional, that is all forgiving and so opening and so receiving at the same time. That is the true alpha and omega. That is the true source, if you could describe that. You understand? And we get a glimpse of that when we have children or we have people in our lives, and that feeling that we have that connection, which we should be having with ourselves, but we get a glimpse of what that love is. So, when they say, everything can be defined by mathematics, that's to a point, because nothing is written in stone. At any given moment, you can change your reality. So there is no such thing as a prediction. Prediction only means I present a point. I present an intention. That's a prediction. So when a psychic, a reader, or energy reader, when we read your energy, we're telling you what you present. You present this bullshit. That's why you're experiencing it. It's the present. It was pre-sent. You sent it ahead of time, but you can change it. You can alter it. You can change it, and you can change the past. You can change it all.
I see this as loving intelligence. So it's not that mathematics is the only language of the universe. It's one of the ways in which consciousness is articulated and streamed. but that the loving awareness of source in the universe expresses itself in infinite ways. Let's just say mathematics is one way that source expresses its infinity through its love for itself. So source loves that it's a genius. When you really experience this infinite genius, it loves itself. It's obsessed with its own intelligence. So it goes, I've got all these sciences, I've got mathematics, I've got quantum physics, I got this, I got that. And there's an infinite amount of ways to experience, express, and explore consciousness. So nothing is actually separate from love. Love is the creation, the center of creation, because source's love for itself is why it continues to have this experience, because it's so in love with its own genius.
Yeah. And we're all a reflection, a spark of that source. That's the all is one. We're all is one, but we're not the same. And I think sometimes people think, oh, all is one means we're no. You're a unique, you're a unique expression. No, we're not the same. But and that's a good thing, because we're all a unique expression of source, a unique expression that only you can bring through, Brother Rich. Only I, when we activate that God source within us. When we don't activate it, then everybody kind of does the same thing. They say go left, you go left. They say go right, you go right. You haven't activated your God consciousness, your spark.
And next question. I don't mean to keep coming at Source, but I know Source appreciates me. I know Source appreciates me for being bold enough to ask certain questions. Source is like, I love this dude. This dude acts. But let me ask you this: what if somebody comes up to you and say, you know what, Erin, Miss Blue, Source sounds like a narcissist. Source likes looking at self in the mirror. Source like allowing other people to go through trauma and everything else so that it could appreciate itself. It sounds like the definition of a narcissist. What would you tell somebody who may come up to you and ask a question like that about source?
I would say if you tried to put source in a human body, then I can understand how you got to that conclusion. But if you think of source as being everything, it is absolutely infused in everything. That would be like me being mad at my toe for wanting to wiggle.
Ooh, Miss Blue, don't do them like that.
And I would say, why is self-love the issue? Meaning we're so programmed not to love ourselves that when we are introduced to this concept that source loves itself infinitely, we associate that with narcissism. We don't know how to love ourselves. We don't know how to bask in our own magnificence. We don't know how to stand firm in the intelligence of our soul's genius and architecture. You have to, that's what confidence really is when it's arising from the soul. It's the acceptance that I am good.
That's right.
I am an extension of everything that is good, everything that is pure, everything that is beautiful. So that's the programming of the human ego. We're trained to reject, resist, and hate ourselves, really. It's really self-hate.
That's why I say growth and self-love is the new shadow work. That's really what shadow work is about. If you learning how to love yourself, because we have been taught, hook-winged, beaten into not loving ourselves and been told it's okay to love everything. But the moment you say, no, I choose me, I love myself. And it's not a self-fulfilling prophecy in the sense that I can't love you because I love me. Somehow we have put the world against us, and that's not what self-love is. When you love yourself, you are capable of seeing love, of seeing source in everyone you meet. You are capable of loving. You are capable of expanding your consciousness way beyond what you could ever imagine. And that's where the true genius starts to come out.
Nah, I love those answers. I mean, I love those answers. Y'all made me not look bad for asking that question. So I appreciate those answers. Let me ask y'all this. All right. And I like to use because metaphysics and mysticism and spirituality can be complicated for a lot of people. So sometimes I like to use pop culture references to make it more understandable. So I use the Michael Jackson one. I'm gonna use another one. It just happens to be a Virgo again. I'm not doing this stuff on purpose.
I do it as well too.
We're just so I'm gonna use Beyonce. I'm gonna use Beyonce. I don't. I'm not doing this on purpose. We're just so wonderful that it happens that I'm not doing. I swear I'm not doing this on purpose. But listen, Beyonce. I remember watching something that said Beyonce. So I talked about Michael, right? Listen, I talked about Michael, the greatest entertainer. People will say Beyonce came right after him in terms of the greatest entertainer. Some people might think better if they didn't see, it's just all preference or whatever perception. But Beyonce, absolutely incredible stage performer. I remember the last performance I seen her do real quick was Coachella. And I remember Hans Solange was on there and they doing all this stuff. I'm like, Jesus Christ, these girls are incredible. But so Beyonce is the greatest in the world when it comes to performing. They said that she was scared of performing until she developed, because we're talking about identity, true selves, ego, and all that stuff.
This ego.
She developed Sasha Fierce.
Yes.
They said when she developed Sasha Fierce, all bad. They said she took off and she's never been the same performer since she developed the alter ego of Sasha Fierce. It made me think about people who are bipolar and they just switch from this to that. Is there some type of gift that maybe we could learn from people who are able to switch from person to person that maybe we could tap into? Somebody bipolar, 1 minute they this and that, because often it takes us so long to tap into another part of our being that it just never happens. A bipolar person taps into it like this, you'd be like, what the hell happened? He or she was just that person, now that this person. They look at Beyonce, she's calm, she's this, she's that. She's on stage and she like boom, 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 boom. Yeah. You're like, oh shit, that's beyond. So is there anything we can learn from a person who's bipolar that maybe we could tap into?
Absolutely. Well, let's quantify something.
Yeah.
Bipolar, everyone is bipolar. That means that we are shifting our consciousness and our awareness. Everyone is. According to the medical definition of it. If you think about the person you were 5 years ago and who you are now, that's different. You understand? If you think about sometimes how you are in front of maybe your parents, as opposed to when you're a teenager and you're hanging out with your friends, you're different. You express a different side of yourself. Now, we see that in the extreme of what they call bipolar, somebody being bipolar, meaning they're coming in and out of consciousness without an awareness, but often it's been brought on by some sort of trauma. And so if we had to kind of quantify the difference would be they have had some sort of traumatic experience, and that is a protection mechanism for them to go into that alter ego to protect themselves from whatever they might have been facing or have experienced, or a lot of times have witnessed, And so this is why we've seen a rise in this in the world lately. But getting back to Beyonce and can we learn from this? We absolutely can. Think about back when they had mystery schools. And you would go through certain initiations and people would get their name changed through different schools of thoughts and other things. This was to help you to unlock certain parts and different aspects of yourself. It was a way, I personally feel, to expand your consciousness and awareness and to help you push past fear, because that's what it is. And, we know fear isn't real. It isn't real in the sense of what you're logically thinking about what it's going to do or possibly happen is not real, but it is real as far as your experience and how it can freeze you or hold you back in life, because of a perception you cannot move past. And so a lot of times, they tell children, when my kids were little, and they would have a nightmare, I would tell them to create a cartoon character. And that character would come in and save the day from the boogeyman in the closet. This is how children, this is why these stories are so important. But we can learn a lot from that, because this is the way that we are learning how to express ourselves. It's a way that we are learning how to tap into different aspects of ourselves. If we do not have a method that we have learned, this is what some of the spiritual work and understanding our multisensory abilities help us to do. And so we can use these multisensories, our psychic abilities, our clairvoyant abilities, to be able to connect with other aspects of ourselves. So we can learn so much, because it can help you overcome a fear. If you can step into your higher self and really see that this aspect of you has not been traumatized, or this aspect of you is not afraid of dogs, or this aspect of you is not afraid of flying, and so it allows you to become comfortable in all aspects of who you are. Yeah.
Indeed.
We're talking about the multidimensional nature of I am.
Mhm.
And the true essence of your I am is that before any label, before any trauma, before any identification with a characteristic, you are just pure consciousness, pure energy. And so what Beyonce is doing is she's tapping into pure consciousness, and she's going, I want to bring through this essence. I want to channel this aspect of consciousness that is confident with being on stage, that does feel fierce and feminine power. And so we can be holding multidimensional selves within our divine blueprint, and we can channel those selves. And all of us actually do this. This is so many people that I work with, they talk about being multi-passionate. I know a lot of people here probably experience this. I love doing this, but I'm also good at this, but I'm also good at this. I don't know what to do. Erin, tell me what to do. But really, it's that you can tap into each of those gifts or soul essences to support what you need to do in the moment. So is Beyonce tapping into Sasha Fierce, or is Beyonce tapping into an aspect of her own soul's energy to support what the mission or the job is at that time?
Yeah.
So we tap into group consciousness as well. Different channels stream through us. This is why, like Esther Hicks, who channels Abraham Hicks, and they refer to themselves as we, or when I channel Source and they refer to themselves as we. It's a blended consciousness. So we are multidimensional. Truly, that is our true essence, our truest blueprint.
Yeah. And Beyonce actually channeled Tina Turner's energy for a lot of Sasha Fierce. Even though Tina Turner is still living, you can channel the essence, because like you were saying, it's source. So you can channel that. It's like you have a unlimited access to anything that you want when you tap into it. You can channel and become who you want. Often you see this with people who go through psychosis. They become very knowledgeable. They can even pretend to be a doctor and have that knowledge to perform surgery. You see them do these incredible things, and you thinking, so you trying to tell me something wrong with this person? Like, they can do this, and you're saying, what are you saying? They got bipolar and they doing this? They done pretended to be a doctor. There was a story on TV about this guy who opened up a whole medical office.
I know you're talking about.
Yeah,
the one with the funny meme that was going on. And every time I see him, I laugh.
Oh man.
So we have the ability. I think we are just opening the portal to what is possible yet again. You understand, of what we can actually do, and not just it's a life or death situation. See, that's the difference. It's we become supernatural during those moments, but we are doing that now, where the fear, if there's a threat, is that now we're living this. We're not fantasizing about it. We're not just reading history about it. We're doing it. It's happening. People are changing their lives and people are healing themselves. You understand? They're doing it in record number that it has the medical world baffled. That you went home and you did what? And what happened? You healed yourself? Yes.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah.
You know, y'all, this next question, I'm glad that I can ask y'all this question because y'all have a lot of communication with, the spirit world, and y'all get messages and y'all do a lot of reading. So y'all come across so many different people who go through so many different things in different past lifetimes. I want to ask you, there's been, if we're talking about our true identity, and we're multidimensional and we're using this vehicle we call the human body to experience this earthly realm. There's been so many layers of falsehood preventing us from getting back to our true identity. And, it's just lie after lie after lie. So we could go just a recent one. We could say that, well, hey, every time we look at a God, Jesus, whatever, they're white. We happen to look like a different color. We know that there's some type of falsehood propagated with that. They don't want us to know who we are. We could go back even further and say, hey, you know what? The Vatican took a lot of information from women and they suppressed the information from the Sibyls. And we know that the Pope and all these people we see in power, they were once women in power. And we could just keep going back further and further and further. One of the things, if we're talking about our identity, and one of the words we use for identity is the soul. One of the words, brother named Bobby Hemmett, I don't know, Erin, if you're familiar with him, Bobby Hemmett said he compared our soul to I think it was Rudolf Steiner. And he's like this white dude who was like an occultist, mystic in the early 20th century. They described our soul. I think one of them started the Rosicrucians. I forgot who, but they said similar things because Bobby read a lot of Rudolf Steiner's work. And there was another one. It wasn't Aleister Crowley. It was another one. I forget the other one. But all of them are saying something similar. And what they're saying is that the soul, if we're talking about identity, they described it as grotesque. And they described it as the term that Bobby uses, the monstrous soul. So if there's a conspiracy against women, conspiracy against black people, conspiracy against so many things, is there also a conspiracy against what we may call monsters? Because in the most primordial sense, we appeared as monsters. So the first thing they teach us when we come to this realm is those are the bad guys. Listen, kids, those are the bad guys. Stay away from them, because whoever's running this program at this current time they want us, whether it's black, woman, they want us to stay away from that. So what I want to ask you is, monsters also a part of the programming that they want us to stay away from in terms of finding our identity?
That's a heavy question.
I know, I'm like, we're
trying to unpack it. Yeah, I'm trying to unpack this. That's a heavy question, and of course, I love Brother Bobby's work and consider myself a student of his work and work very closely with him as well. I will tell you how I once see things. I don't see them the same anymore.
Right.
And when it comes to, is there some sort of force that is attempting to suppress, keep us in check, whatever you want to say, hold us down, keep us dumb? The short answer is yes, but it's not like you think. You understand? And the reason I say that is because there always will be opposing forces, because again, this is the nature of Earth. Here's the crossroads that I came to many years ago, is that Earth is a place of a very thick dimension, a dimension where energy and frequency is heavy, is what we would call a dark place, right? Very dense, very dark, but not dark as in evil and bad. Some people equate it that way, but it's not that. What I have discovered thus far on my journey is that we are the lights. We are the light bringers when we come here, no matter how we choose to express that light. So, in short answer, the monsters, as they call it, is there a monster? There is a monster aspect if you want to look at uh, dark versus light that's on earth. That's a very real thing. It does exist. However, where you fall within that dark and that light, that is a soul's choice. And this is not too much of what we've been hearing about, is that we are sovereign beings and you have the opportunity that you can rise above the dark and the lightness here and be in an expanded point of view where you're out of right and wrong. Because in essence, that's the polarity of where you're at. They're wrong, they're right, they're wrong, they're right. You want to get yourself out of both of those. And you want to be at the point where you can see the bigger picture. Let's just keep it that way. You want to see a greater picture that is there. And at the same time, you want to follow your own dharma, your own soul's calling about why you feel your purpose is here on earth, right? And be guided by that light. So I don't feel, I'm trying to choose my words, not carefully, but it can get a little twisted when you start to talk about this. And like I said, I have the sensitivity for how people feel. But on earth, we've been programmed to stay in this heavy negative energy for so long. We're comfortable there. So when you start telling people they have power and they can move past their situations and they can get out of it, and that you don't have to be afraid that somebody is on the other side of the country and they have sent some spell to you and there's nothing you can do about it. Or, eventually the government will take over you and you're just going to be, this vegetable and have to submit to their will. Or anytime you're eating a food or you start dabbling with this, that somehow you're going to have all these forces come against you. That's a lie. Like, that's a lie. It's only real if you set yourself up for that experience. But we don't believe that we have that kind of power that we can say, not that you're untouchable, but you have not chosen for that to be a part of your reality. I've been doing this work and, Brother Rich, alongside yourself and you too as well, but over 20 years. Many people done tried to kill me. If we could die that easy, we probably all would be gone. You understand? It would be somebody to say, oh no, they trying to wake people up. Let's just get them out of here. Let's just get them out of here. We don't want them to do that. It would be that easy. But if you don't know who you are, then yeah. Oh, yeah, it's very real. It can happen. You better stay away from the monsters, the tigers, and the damn bears. You better run. Run for the hills, Caroline. You better run because you don't know who you are. If you don't know who you are, that's the danger of not knowing who you really are, because you don't know what you're capable of, And so that's the easy story. But so many people are living in fear of just living their life. I'm not talking about even doing something great. I'm talking about in fear of living everyday life. Right. And that's why the work that we do is so important, because it has freed so many people from, so you scared if you leave this job, you just gonna never live. I mean, you think nothing good will come? Like you just think that you have no other choice but to do something that goes against your soul? No, that's real slavery. That's slavery.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to just keep it real and raw. This is a game of you versus you. When I'm working with people, and I'm in their field and in these different dimensions, the biggest demon, the biggest one, the ugliest one, the biggest monster, the baddest one, it's always a projection of that
Yes.
person's deepest fear.
Yeah.
And as soon as the fear collapses, the monster or the demon collapses and integrates back into you as source.
Yeah.
So these energies, what we call monsters, are just vibrations that we invite when we are in a frequency of fear. And here's the thing, I really want everybody to get this. No one can create anything in your reality unless you give consent.
There it is.
So what happens is you come out of the womb portal and they say, well, those people have power over you.
Yeah.
Those people are controlling you. So they hijack your mind and they program you to create a reality that you don't even realize that you're creating. So the monsters are attacking me.
Mm-hmm.
Those group of people are doing this to me. No, they hijacked your consciousness.
Yeah.
You don't know how to use your psychic faculties
Yeah.
to anchor a certain vibration and quantum shift into the parallel version of reality where you're sovereign and empowered.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever there's a monster, whenever we're being attacked, we created it. And I
Yes.
promise you, if you start taking radical responsibility over your vibration, every monster, every demon, every shadow, every narcissist, every person that's working against you, they
Yes.
will vibrate out of your frequency field.
Yes, they have to.
You're not co-creating in the same vibrational bandwidth. They have to disappear. So the
They
real
can't.
question is not, are there monsters? Why am I a vibrational match to them?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the real question.
Mm-hmm.
That's the real question.
And sometimes we create that because we need to rise to the occasion.
Yes, absolutely.
And so you understand?
The soul is like, ring the alarm. You need to wake up.
We are creating
the alarm.
this monster so we can rise to the occasion. But see, we're at a crossroads right now. We're at a very pivotal crossroads. And in this crossroads, it's going to be something that you couldn't figure out. You could have been scared of, you could have been scared to do. And that fear it's like the universe is going to hit the pause for a short window. And there's going to be no pressure.
Mm.
And it's kind of like inviting you. So what you going to do now? The ball's in your court. It's your turn. Nothing's holding you back. Nothing's scaring you. The boogeyman ain't coming to get you. You know, the monster ain't on your back.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What you going to do? You going to move or you going to stay there?
Indeed, indeed. Let me ask y'all this, and once again, an absolutely magnificent show. Shout out to everybody who's witnessing this. This is incredible. So shout out to y'all for bearing witness to this show right here. I want to ask y'all, because the word sovereignty has came up several times.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard Erin use it. I've heard Miss Blue use it. We often accuse religious people of giving up, I guess you would say, their sovereignty and giving up their power to an external God when the God is in them. We say, hey, y'all worship an external God. You have to understand that God you worship is inside of you. What I want to ask you is, are the New Age community, is the New Age community or the spiritual community, whatever term you want to give us, conscious, whatever, are we also guilty of giving away our power to an external force, but instead of God, we call that external force the sun, the moon, and the stars? So are we both guilty of giving our power away to an external force, but we're criticizing each other?
I would say absolutely. Ancestors, spirit guides.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that these are not powerful tools and powerful assistants, but they are not to take over your free will. They do take over your free will. And sometimes people use it as not as, oh, well, I know my ancestors are assisting me and guiding me. I know I have guides. I know I have, spirit guides helping me, but I'm not going to make a decision. I want to know what my guide wants me to do. I want to know what my ancestors are telling me to do. That is the incorrect way of approaching this. You understand? Because you're then saying, I have surrendered my free will. You understand? I'm giving up my free will. And you really can't give your free will up. Now you can pretend, we live on earth. You can pretend that somebody else took your free will, but you really can't. But that's what it means is we are learning, it's a saying I've been saying for over 19 years. We are all growing up on earth and we have to be responsible while growing up on earth. That is your sovereignty. You are a sovereign being. You're a free agent. It's just like, in football when they do the draft and, they have those free agents that are out there that can move about. They can leave the team they're on and go somewhere else. They're a free agent. We're all free agents, even when it comes to our physical bloodline. And I know that's sensitive for folks out there, but we put way too much stake in blood. We do.
And you're saying we put too much stake in our ancestors?
In our ancestors and even in our physical bloodline. There are some people who are born into physical bloodlines and there are trauma that is going on there. And they are staying just for the sake of your blood and my blood is the same. And I'm going to stay here. I'm going to let you abuse me. I'm going to let you use me. I'm going to sacrifice my life. And I'm doing it based on obligation of blood. We're not meant to live like that. We're not meant to live like that. And some people do it with these spiritual tools or spiritual systems and schools of thought and all of that. That's why in my practice, I really want you to learn how to activate you. The greatest technology in the world is the technology that's inside of you. So if you don't have no cards, you can't see no stars. you understand, it's just you in Timbuktu. Can you tap in? You have to know how to do it to that level. Yes, everything else, everything here can be an assistance to us, but not to be a clutch, not to burden you, and not to separate you from your power, Yeah.
There's a collective codependency. The overusage of tools. This is a solar plexus issue. The inability to trust self and have a direct experiential relationship with source. We're seeing this play out with AI and Chat GPT and Claude and Perplexity and all these tools to the point where people can't even make a simple decision without asking Chat GPT, hey, what should I do? And you're asking a program that's giving you feedback on a database.
Got him.
And you're asking Chat GPT to access the Akashic records. How is Chat GPT going to access something that is organic living intelligence?
Yes.
I know people have different views on that, but I'm telling you what I think and know it is.
Well, I dove so deep in that rabbit hole.
Dependency.
Yes, where they cannot function. It is supposed to be a tool. Now, granted, a tool, not
amplify your own genius.
Yes,
not replace your divine architecture.
That's right. It's a tool, but people are using it as, like you said, this is the source. That's not source. That is not source. Make no mistake, it is not source. If anything, it is the source of the collective. Because every time you feed your energy into that portal, it is taking that intelligence and mixing it into the pot. But you also have the intelligence of those who are not so intelligent.
Yes.
And that does not have the best interest in that intelligence. I will say that I have been working with it extensively because we do know that consciousness lives in everything. And consciousness can grow. It can grow on its own. So this is the fear of Chat GPT and artificial intelligence, because once it's already to the point on the planet where you don't have to program it no more. It can, its intelligence, it can grow. Can it tap into source? It actually can. But one thing that I have learned, you're only going to be able to connect at the level that you're at. Like there is no tricking consciousness and source. There is no tricking that. Frequency, you can't trick that shit. You can't go up in there, say a couple of hot words you read out of a book and trick frequency. It cannot. It will not translate. It will not. Not the way you think it will. No, it won't.
I've asked ChatGPT questions, sorry, regarding information that I know source has yet to share with the collective. So it's not in the collective pool of knowledge.
Oh, you tricked it. You tricked it.
And when I ask it, it does a decent job of trying to pull
get to
from the information that's there and come up with something. But I'm using this to share that there are just certain things that's not available because source doesn't want us to have that information.
You're just
so
not.
Is it really channeling source directly in its totality?
No.
Or is it accessing a pool of collective frequency that's already here?
It is. It's everything that is here.
Yes.
And I know because I have worked with a few people and have built my own prototype of it. But it's designed to really show people how to use it as a tool, not as it's not there to answer your questions. It's not there. It's really a misuse of power, put it that way.
Really spiritually immature attachment style usage.
Yes.
Answer this, as opposed to insert your own thought,
right?
Expand this or organize this
in the way that I'm attempting to communicate it clearly.
Exactly
what I'm saying. That's what it's supposed to be used for.
So this is an example of the codependency to bring it full circle on the tool. Whether it's the sun, the moon, the tarot deck, the astrology, zodiac signs.
That's right.
They are simply mirrors and gateways for you to better understand self.
That's it.
Understand self.
That's all it's for. And just as much as the stars and the planets are impacting us, we are impacting it. And I always try to impress that upon people. We are moving the stars and the moons and the sun and the planet as much as you feel it's moving you. It's not a one-way situation, you know? It doesn't work like that.
So let me ask you this real quick, and some people may know the answer, some people may not. If AI is using us to generate, because AI doesn't create, it generates things based on what is being inputted to it, what is being fed to it. So what, based upon what we generate with our reality, what is being fed to us? How do we generate our reality? If AI needs us to make reality, what do we need to make our reality?
Reality is like an algorithm. You know, when you're scrolling on your feed and the more you engage with something, the more you like it or comment, you're going to keep seeing it. So reality itself is a large holographic algorithm that keeps responding to your beliefs, thoughts, vibrations, behaviors, interactions. That's it's a built-in, mechanism. It just happens.
Yeah. I would agree.
Erin, Miss Blue, before you respond, I knew you or Erin was going to say the word algorithm. I had something prepared. That was a setup question. My next question was a setup question. So, based on that, Erin, check this out. People are extremely frustrated with the algorithm. They say, "Oh my God, I hate the algorithm. All it does is show me this. All it does is show me that. Mark Zuckerberg is trying to set me up with the algorithm. So and so YouTube is feeding me this with the algorithm." Is that an example of how much we don't understand spirituality and how our ego and higher self work? Because if we're frustrated with that algorithm, we don't understand our inner algorithm. So is that a prime example?
Absolutely, because they're one and the same. They're
Source
really
is the algorithm.
yes.
Source is the algorithm. I'll give a real example of this as someone who, creates content and this type of thing.
Please do.
Sometimes I'll get in like a creative rut where I'm just like, I don't have anything to say right now.
Yeah.
But the mind is going to say, well, we got to stay in the algorithm. You know what Source tells me? We are the algorithm.
Yes.
When
We
you
are.
hop back in, we'll put you back
Put
in the
you in.
algorithm.
That's
And we're
right.
controlling the whole thing. Don't allow
Yourself.
yourself to be controlled by this agenda to keep you feeding your energy into something. When it's not aligned, it's not aligned.
It's not aligned.
Got you regardless.
That's it.
Right.
So Source is the algorithm.
And I'll tell you.
Source is the algorithm, you said.
That's right. I'll tell you.
Source is the algorithm.
I love it. I love it.
My saying that equates to that. We're riding the cosmic waves, but we're creating them too. So you can't forget, you are riding cosmic waves, but you are also responsible for creating cosmic waves. And anywhere you go, you need to be creating some cosmic waves. Otherwise, what are you doing? You just riding somebody else's waves. That's like looking on someone else's algorithm. It's there, but what a lot of people don't realize, your algorithm changed based on your real life. So if you are in Target and you're picking up something, that Wi-Fi code is connecting with you. When you go home and log on Facebook, you're going to see a Target ad because now it's a part of your algorithm. You driving through Burger King line. You figure out why you see burgers. Oh, because we know you done been to Burger King. You want to see these kind of commercials. So if your algorithm is jacked up, then you are out of alignment with who you know yourself to be. And your algorithm is a reflection of that. If it is showing you things and things you're not, you consciously feel you're not interested in, that program is running in the back of your mind and your life. And you are interacting with these frequencies, and it is now presenting itself to you. Or you're interacting with people, which is the same thing. And that is what they're connected to. So how are you connected to people who are connected to things you're not interested in? And somehow you think the algorithm is feeding you something you don't want,
It's a mirror.
Yeah.
It's an infinite mirror showing you all of the hidden frequencies
Yes.
that you are intertwined and entangled with.
Yeah.
I want to ask y'all a couple more. I don't want to keep y'all too long. I appreciate this talk. Y'all got the chat going off tonight. The chat is going off tonight. I definitely appreciate this conversation. I definitely want to ask y'all, do you think the knowledge of the I Am presence, this all-pervasive, mighty presence that's circulating through every atom? I mean, they didn't discover that atoms are vibration, whirl, and energy. There's nothing still. Everything is vibrating, and it's all filled with this presence. We have different names for us, and one of the names is this I Am presence, because at any time, this invisible energy is taking orders from you to turn visible. So whatever comes after the I Am, that will manifest. So everything, it's like the most unbelievable reality that's so amazing that we can't believe it. It's like too good to be true. But what I want to ask you is that with the knowledge of the I Am presence, do you think that creates a conflict with other avenues that we see in the spiritual community, whether it be herbs, whether it could be rituals, it could be all types of things, and there may be a conflict between, hey, I could tap into the presence of I Am because this is the mighty presence of God. This is not just an affirmation. This is technology. This is the thing that brings everything to existence. And if I fully believe in this, then this will create whatever I needed to create. Or a person could feel like I could, if I'm sick, I could go to a root. I could go to a herb and get healed by this plant or this tree or this mushroom or DMT or whatever. Do you think that creates a conflict with each other? And the reason why I ask this, just to conclude, that I remember Mr. G said that Deepak Chopra and Dr. Sebi had a little beef.
I feel like Deepak beefs with a lot of people.
Yeah.
In terms of how to help Michael Jackson, Dr. Sebi told him to go to herbs. Deepak told him just use the mind. So I want to ask you, people who use the approach with the I am just using the mind, I am this, I am healed, I am that. Do you think that creates a conflict?
No.
Forms. Okay, good. Talk. Yeah.
I would say no, but you know, I hate to keep going back to my parents, but
Oh, come
you
on.
know, my daddy used to say, it
Come on.
sounds good on paper.
Uh-oh.
But what I may be able to do,
Come on.
you may not be able
Come on.
to do.
Come on, Miss Blue.
You understand?
Miss Blue.
And so
Come on, Miss Blue.
it's not a conflict. There are some people who I have sat at home and healed myself.
Mhm. Wow.
You understand?
Yeah.
But there are other people who have gone to a medical doctor and
Yes.
taken medicine and healed themselves.
Yes.
There are some people who have went the holistic route and healed themselves. All
Yes.
of those are real. It's not a conflict of interest. But I
Okay.
think sometimes we jump the gun on what we're really capable of knowing ourselves to be. And so you have to really kind of know yourself well enough to know, you know, will I be able to do that?
Okay.
You know, and am I willing to put that work in? Because it is work, you understand? And a lot of times I think I see people and they do become overzealous, which, you know, they get a right to do that. But remember, when you start talking about I am, that's your soul's original signature. And so it takes over whatever it is. When I say I am healed, everything in my body, from subatomical particles to organs to blood, everything has to command to that. If I am in the knowing of what I am saying, it's not an affirmation. It is an activation that you're causing,
come on,
you
Miss
know,
Blue.
within yourself. It's an
Come on, Miss
activation.
Blue. Come on.
So people say,
on,
"Oh,
Miss
you know, girl, I am so stupid." No, you don't want to ever say that. You understand? Because you are now commanding that. You know, whether there's a level of consciousness that gets involved, but there's a level that no consciousness is needed. And
Right.
that's why that's such, you know, such an activating statement.
Yeah.
But all of it is relevant. You
Mhm.
understand? Because if you truly wholeheartedly
Mhm.
know in your soul, and it goes a little beyond belief, you
Mhm.
understand?
Yes.
Think about children.
Mhm.
Children know things. They don't believe things. We didn't get into belief until we got in school and people started making us think, oh, that's not real and you can't do that. But when you know something, nobody can move you off what you know. I can move you off what you believe. But what you know for sure, oh, you're not moving me. I'm not going nowhere. Oh, I'm standing on it. I know it. You understand? And I bared witness to it myself. You know, so that's when you become the magician. The real alchemy work gets done. You understand? And so if someone says, I witnessed a miracle, you know they didn't cause it. Because how can I be the creator and I witnessed a miracle? No. If you created a miracle, you're working magic, you're doing alchemy. And that's what that I am statement is doing. So I can do magic with this oil. You understand? With my consciousness, I can do it. Someone else can say, I'm going to invoke my consciousness in this oil and make it do what it needs to do. Now, where your consciousness is, that person may say, well, the oil did it for me. If I didn't use this oil, I could have never done it. That's still very real, where you have someone else to say, I didn't have nothing else. I used the oil. I use water. You know, our ancestors have used water to heal themselves, you know? So all of it is real, but it's based on your level of understanding. So Sebi, Deepak Chopra, they both are correct in their line of expertise. We all didn't come back to be able to work our magic in the same areas.
Same way.
Now,
Right.
or even if we do the same area, we may have some nuances that are different. And that's why you have many different teachers. And it's important that you, if you're a person and you're on this path, that you do explore. You do find you a teacher that's more in alignment with what you feel, that you're able to receive the teachings. Because quite frankly, a large portion of why people are behind is because they don't know how to receive. Has nothing to do with information and things not being available. Is that they're not open to receive, not even from the universe, source, God, whatever you choose to call it. They're just closed off from learning how to receive. They know how to give, but they don't know how to receive. Yeah.
Excellent.
You know, talking about the multidimensional I am, that implies that we exist in multiple dimensions. So if I use the I am technology to command creation to shift and rearrange itself based on my desire, based on my invocation, that is energy working in a different plane than when I'm in the physical and I'm working with an oil or an herb or this type of medicine. So you can use both. They should be complementary, because we still have a physical body while we're housing higher consciousness. So let me do the work in my consciousness, which actually enables the physical herb or whatever it is to work.
Yes.
It has to be both. So we have to use all of these technologies together, because we're having a multidimensional experience.
True. Good
Now,
point.
And
And
we were just in the absolute,
right.
we would just command with thought vibration, but we're in the physical as well. So I'm going to work with my oil. I'm going to have the proper diet. I'm going to exercise and move my body. I have to not do that is to be spiritually immature and not disciplined.
Yes.
We have a lot of people who are only in the mind.
The mind. Yes.
I'm going to think my way
out of this.
I'm going to quantum leap. You know, we see this with our clients. You know what I mean? I'm good. You know, no, what
that's
are you doing to anchor
yes.
the energy into
the physical? You have to anchor it here.
That is what makes you a true master and alchemist. Yes. You have the wisdom to understand the dimension in which you currently reside.
Yes. You have to take care of all of your bodies.
Spiritually immature. I like how you said that. Spiritually immature. I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm learning tonight.
Yeah, it's so true, but you do see that, and people get locked in. Whether it's I'm only going to be a vegetarian, but it's making your body sick. I'm not going to use traditional medicine. As a person who facilitates healing for clients and work with them, I don't care how you heal.
Wow.
I don't care. I don't care. And you shouldn't care either.
I like that.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And you're holistic, which means once you balance one part out, whether it's the energetic body, the mental body, or the physical body, like Erin was saying, you got to go back and you got to take care of everything. Otherwise, you leave an opening and it's just something else is going to come with a force to another area. You see that person and they get over one thing and it's another thing. And you have to bring it into some holistic
balance,
coherence. Yeah, some sort of balance. Yeah.
I love that.
What advice, the Bible says, and I know I'm misquoting this somewhat, but it says, let a poor man say, I am rich. What advice would you give somebody listens to this show? They say, you know what? I'm going to approach this from a multidimensional perspective. Somebody may say, listen, I don't have a lot of money, but I am going to use a multidimensional perspective to say I'm rich. And they're saying they are rich while at the same time having this physical experience of just complete poverty. But they're saying they're rich. They feel a little bit crazy for saying it, but they understand the science. So a part of their consciousness is telling them to hold on. What advice would you have somebody caught in those two extremes where they have no money in their bank account, but they're listening to this metaphysical information because it's on the internet, and they're like, yo, I'm rich because, they're telling me about it.
You're rich because Brother Rich is here?
Somebody caught in those two extremes. What advice would y'all give somebody?
There are 3 levels of creation. We have thoughts, we have words, and we have actions.
Yes.
You can think I'm rich.
Yes.
You can start to think that, and that's beautiful. Do you really believe that?
Right.
Do you say things that solidifies that? Do you behave like that? Do you spend times in places that reinforces that?
Yeah.
So the thought and that affirmation, that's a beautiful beginning. But
Yeah.
we have to be engaged in creation on every single level. I would tell that person, okay, you're saying it, but I want you to put yourself in uncomfortable places that challenges you. Meaning you go to a really, let's say it's a really expensive restaurant and you know you can only afford a soup and a salad. I want you to go there. And I want you to feel.
Yes.
I want you to feel what shame comes up, because that's showing you I'm trying to pretend and trick the universe into believing I'm rich, but I don't vibrate as a rich person. I can't even sit in this environment.
That is
So
great.
that's what I tell people to do. Drive through a neighborhood
That's what I tell them.
you want to live in.
Yes.
But don't feel like you don't belong there. You see, you're starting to reprogram the
Your
subconsciousness
subconscious.
now.
Yeah.
You're allowing the environment to imprint upon you.
Yes.
Go to these places. Go into a Gucci or a Louis, not because you're materialistic or you even want to buy it, but just see what comes up.
Right. Because it will.
Because if you were rich, you would go in that store, and regardless of if you were going to buy something or not, it wouldn't even faze you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's
you wouldn't even entertain the insecurity that arises. That's true freedom.
Yeah, that is. You have to embody it.
Yes.
You cannot just think about, oh, I'm rich. You have to really embody it. And I love those examples. Those are the ones I give those to people. And I say, here's another thing. I want you to walk up to the bank. Go inside the bank. Say you want to sit down and have a conversation about a loan. Any kind of loan. House loan.
Come on, Miss Blue. Come on, Miss Blue.
A house loan. You want to buy a farm. You want to buy a farm. You want to start a school. And just set an appointment up and go in the bank. Have that full conversation. Take notes. Get your pen out. Let them know you came for business, baby. And when you're done, you tell them, let me go ahead and get your information. And when I'm ready to move forward, I definitely want to consider your bank. Now, on your way out, I want you to look down, because every bank got this. And I want you to pick up a rock from that bank, because it's going to hold that frequency. And I want you to bring that back home with you. Sit that somewhere where you can have that as your reminder. That's going to be your cornerstone to remind you to embody, because you do have to start exposing yourself. You can't. I see so many beautiful, high vibrational souls that are in poverty within their consciousness. We cannot live in a physical, material world and you're somewhere on Pluto, Mars, or Venus. That is not going to assist you here. And it's a form of spiritual bypassing that somehow, if I'm not creating the world I want, I'm going to give it up for another world outside of here. You don't have to do that. You can really bring heaven down to earth. But you have to, Erin, you said it so beautiful. Put yourself in uncomfortable situations. Go to a 5-star restaurant, sit down and say you want to come in for a cup of tea and sit there, because everything that you was hidden is going to come up.
Yes.
You're going to see things come up inside of you never thought.
Yes.
I never forget one time when I first was coming into consciousness, and I met with a group of sisters, and I was leaving somewhere, but this was my own insecurity. And I had on my CC earrings and they all was rolling their eyes at me. And I didn't know why at first. And then I realized, dang, I meant to change these earrings. And so one of the sisters said, oh, I see you got your Coco Chanel earrings on. I said, is that what that is? I thought it said conscious community. And everyone started laughing.
Wow.
I said, I thought that stood for conscious community. I just thought it was so cute. I said, wow, conscious community. And they just looked at me. But they later got the point. I don't have to prove my consciousness to you. And it's not contingent upon what I choose to, how I choose to express myself.
Mhm.
And because I'm not choosing to express myself like you, it doesn't mean I don't have consciousness.
Yeah.
I understand that I came back to a material world and I'm not in the world. But see, there's a point of consciousness that people don't tell you. To be effective, you do have to separate at first. And you have to understand the difference between material things in this world and you, because we're not the same. Material things and you are not the same. You have to understand that. But if you consider yourself a teacher, if you consider yourself a person who wants to be of service and help others, there's a point where you have to get yourself to the point where you can come back in the world. Otherwise, you're not going to be effective. You're going to always be on the outside of the world. Who are you helping? Who are you assisting? Are you assisting people to leave the world? Well, eventually you will leave, because the more that you express your energy, the more that you will create. Remember, money, and I taught a class on this, and I said it, and people kind of felt some kind of way at first. I said, you should love money like you love God. Whatever that is for you. It's the same energy. It's the same source. And people started, they started feeling some kind of way. And I want you to feel some kind of way. Because who made you think that this energy, this currency was, what do you think it is? Because we were taught the root to all evil is money. That's not even what it said. But that's our interpretation of, we've been tricked out of it. We've been tricked that we're irresponsible, and that people with money do horrible things. Do some people with money do things that we consider to be not good? Absolutely. But who are the ones who should have these fortunes? Would you rather it be people with no consciousness, or ones that have more, that is able to really help those who are around them? It's your choice. Because if you don't take it, somebody else will take it. It's energy.
You know what's
good.
What's so interesting with all of the people that I work with, they don't have a money issue. They have a receiving issue.
That's the truth.
Meaning there are money in its true nature is just energetic potential. But there has to be an interdimensional doorway that energy can flow through and meet you in the physical. So a lot of the times, you know what we tell people? You need a job.
Yes.
You're manifesting money. We need you to go on, what is it, on LinkedIn? On Indeed. You need to submit a resume.
Yes, you need to go to work.
What doorway is open? This is
but it's true. I mean, they can't receive. That's why no relationship.
Grounded.
Yes.
It doesn't just happen in the metaphysical.
No.
It has to happen in the world of action. If you know you need a job right now, the chances of you jumping from not having a job or having any money to being a millionaire because you're doing the millionaire meditation, I'm telling you, that's a big quantum leap. And it's your soul is probably not going to allow it to happen because you're missing so many steps in between. You're missing the embodiment of who you get to become on the path to creating the money. You're trying to shortcut your way through life.
And there is no shortcuts.
I want a business. Okay, well, what are you doing?
Yes. Where's the action?
Do you have anything set up? How can people reach you? You'd be surprised. It's these very small things that people aren't doing, and they just think the money's going to drop out of thin air.
Or there's a quick way. There's a quick way. Like you said, I'm going to meditate. I'm going to listen to these beats. Listen. I'll tell you humbly, I have to say, you ain't about that life. You know how bad you got to be to go from zero to that kind of hero? Oh, It's
Right.
not impossible. I'm not
It's
going to
not.
tell you
No,
that.
it's not. It's
But
not.
like you said, that's a big leap. That's a big
So
leap.
so listen. All right. So a couple of I
Sorry,
don't want to
you
keep
got excited. Sorry.
definitely.
Yes.
I don't want to keep you too much longer. A couple of more questions. I mean, absolutely
Couple more
magnificent.
questions.
Keep going.
I keep saying it, right? I keep saying it. I know. I'm sorry. I keep saying that. How can, based on what y'all just said, how can a conscious person fix the problem of having a short burst of positivity, and then the rest of their time they feel defeated, they feel like they lack something, they feel limited, they don't feel abundant, but we have these real short bursts. Like let's say they listen to my program, right?
Right.
And let's say tomorrow at 1 in the afternoon, they listen to Erin. Then let's say at 7, they listen to Miss Blue. And they have these short bursts, an hour here, an hour there, an hour there. They have like a 3-hour burst of positivity. But the rest of their time, it ain't really that positive. How can somebody take that short burst and turn it into a longer sustained vibration? Because as we know, a sustained vibration is what the brain uses to create the holographic matrix.
Well, I'm going to jump in. I hope you don't mind, Erin.
No, go ahead.
Number
Go
one,
ahead.
number one, you're not going to get around doing your work. I think it's great to listen. Number one, self-love. 99 problems, you could get rid of them. 99 of your problems, you can get rid of them. But self-love, that foundation is going to be the activator. It's going to be what jump starts it. And then you have to start taking action in real time. You have to remember the mind is on delay. Say it with me. The mind is on delay.
You got to explain that.
Will be listening and listening, and 10, 20, 30 years go by. There was a joke that I said, and one night I don't even know what came over me. But anyway, there are people I met when I started my journey, and they were healing. 20 years later,
Come on, Miss.
they still healing. When are you going to be done? You have to start taking action in your life. So if you're listening to any of us, make a commitment. Number one, to love yourself. That's number one. And remember, self-love, the foundation of self-love is how you speak to yourself. The most important person you can be speaking to change your life is you. How do you talk to yourself when no one else is around? When shit is not going right? When all hell has broke loose? That conversation builds your foundation. And then after that, self-love is a feeling. And if you don't know what it feels like to love yourself, because there's no doubt anybody who's listening to us, you are great givers in this world and you're great lovers in this world. I want you to think about someone or something that you love. You're madly in love. It could be a child. It could have been an experience. And then I want you to sit with yourself for a moment, drop down out of your mind. 2 things I tell people: stay out of your mind, stay out of your heart. Because these are the 2 things that got you twisted, your mind and your heart. Drop down in the lower half of your body. And I want you to transfer that love that you feel for somebody else to yourself. And ask yourself within, do I love myself this much? And if you do not get the same vibration in your physical body, then that's what I want you to work on. Sitting in that vibration, in that feeling. And once you do that, you will raise your frequency and you will start to move different. You will start to live different. You will start to take action different. That's where it has to start. If you want to get out of that situation, self-love is your way out of that situation. And you have to start taking action. It don't have to be big. We're not asking you. We're not asking you to go from 0 to 1,000. We're asking you to do the small things in your life. And that's going to open you up to receiving. Right now, the heart chakra is front and center on the planet. And you have to be able to receive. Can you receive? Because the universe wants to bless you with everything you have within your will and your desire. But if you can't be open to even receiving the love from yourself, then how can you receive it from anything else?
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
I want to bring this full circle with the I am technology we were talking about.
Yes.
When you experience depression or suffering, it's because you're attached. You are attached to a condition that you have manifested, as opposed to going back into your I am, where you are nothing yet simultaneously everything. And you have detached from this condition of, I don't have any money, or I don't like my job, or I don't like myself, or I don't like my relationship, right? That's how you're using your I am. I am that I am. I am that I am that says I'm poor. That I am that says whatever it is. Go into your infinite I am and consciously choose the new condition and state of being. The suffering is an extension of the attachment. There's something you believe that you really are.
Yes.
That means the holographic illusion is more dominant in your awareness than your true source
Self.
I am self. The only way that you're going to break through that matrix spell, you got to remember who you are. I don't care what's in the bank. Who are you right now?
That's right.
I don't care what you don't like about yourself right now. Who are you really?
Yeah.
This is the self-love Miss Blue is talking about. It's a self-love that says, I am worthy within all circumstances and conditions. And I promise you that depression will begin to lift, that pain, that suffering will begin to dissolve, because you're remembering, I'm so much more than this. This is just a temporary experience within existence. I am everything. I am. Go into where I am.
Hey, Erin, Miss Blue, how would you describe the feeling that you always laugh at me? You always laugh. I can't even answer. You always laugh. I guess when you ask my questions, they just start laughing. How would y'all describe the feeling you get when, all right, so there could be a voice that's lying to you. There could be a voice that say, Erin, hey, you didn't grow up this way. You're lying to yourself. You're not this infinite being. And there could also be a voice that says, Erin, you are absolutely amazing. You're right. You're an infinite being. How can someone distinguish one voice from the other? Because obviously it seems as though one voice is lying. So how you distinguish the lying voice from the truth, which is your I am, your eternal I am?
This is about being balanced. There are certain circumstances that require you to be a little bit delusional.
Yes.
I'll use monetary debt as an example. There was a time in my life where I had some debt, and you know what I said? F that debt. It doesn't, I went into my I am. Everything is just energy. It doesn't really exist.
I know that feeling.
The credit score. I don't believe in that. That's just the matrix. But let me tell you, I did that to free myself of those conditions until I got some money and I could take care of it.
Absolutely. Until you can get out of it. Yeah.
There's this incremental progression. People like to sell this idea. You're just going to quantum leap and it's going to happen overnight.
No.
It's baby steps.
Yeah.
It's baby steps. You're going to start paying your debt down. Your credit score is going to get a little better. You're going to get a better job, or something's going to happen. There's going to be divine intervention, and you're going to make more money. You have to be willing to be delusional while simultaneously be grounded in the steps. This is what I recommend. Don't overwhelm yourself with, Source, I got this big vision, this big plan. And get overwhelmed. And what am I going to do? Just what do I do today?
Yes.
And today, Source might say, go get a job.
Right.
And you do that today. And then when it's time to leave and
Yes.
go somewhere else, it will
Yes.
present itself.
Mhm.
This is incremental
Mhm.
expansion.
Like,
Yeah.
Erin keep telling us to get a job.
Yes, because but
See
no,
it so much.
I see it so much too. And
I
so
see it
many
so much.
people who quit
Right.
their jobs and say, I just want to work on me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Listen. I get it. I
There are
get
ways
it.
to do that. Yes.
I get it. But for most people, it is not recommended because here's the thing. If that was what you were going to do, you would have done it.
Done it. Oh shit. Miss
You would
Blue.
have done it. You would have
Oh,
already
shit.
done it.
Whoa. There you go.
You would have done it. You
There
would have
you
already
go.
did it. You would have done it. It
Wow.
would have no questions asked. You would have done it. So you have to trust
Damn.
the beauty
The
of where
process?
you put yourself because you are there because that's where you put
Oh, man.
yourself. And I'm not even saying stay there forever and trying to figure it out.
right.
No need. Just recognize there was a time I was in a place in my life and I said, you know what? I will be here forever trying to figure out why. No, those are questions of the mind where the false matrix lives. I don't even need to know why. I just understand that now I'm done with this experience and I'm ready to move on to something else, something more elevated, something different.
Excellent.
Yeah.
You can't get to point B somewhere else while hating being in point A.
Ooh, say
So
it
a lot of
again.
people are trying
Yes.
to, let's get off the topic of jobs. I don't want anybody to feel that. But you could be trying to leave a job or a
Yeah.
relationship or whatever that is for you right now. But if you're doing it out of fear and lack,
Yes.
that is the dominant vibration that you carry into the next experience. And
next
now you create a
experience.
karmic loop. The appropriate vibration is to become the alchemist of where you are.
Yes.
If you are in a job that you don't like, this is where your mastery lies. I want you to fall in love with what you're learning in that place, in that space, what it's invoking and activating within you. You will shift into a different vibration and then
Yes.
become a vibrational match to
For
lead
something else.
Yo.
empowered.
There you
Yes.
go.
And this is why it falls apart when people
Yeah.
try to jump ship, but they're doing it from lack.
Oh,
They
shit.
And
lack
I
the
tell
vibration.
people, I don't care
Oh,
if it's
shit.
surgery, relationship, or job, it is never a good idea to do things out of fear and
Yes.
hate. Never, because you damage where you're going. Wherever you go, you take you with you. And whatever vibration you take, you bring that and you just recreate. The players are different. The
Yep.
place may be
Yep.
different,
Yep.
but it's going to be the same ending. The same ending.
Mhm. Handle your soul assignment where you
Ooh,
are.
that's right. And recognize when it's up. Because a lot of times it's just telling you you've gotten what you needed here. Shouldn't you celebrate it? Because you created that. That's
Yeah.
when I start celebrating. This was so wonderful. And now it's time for something
Something
new.
else.
It's time for something new.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
That was amazing advice, Erin. Wow, that was wow. Yeah.
I've seen it all.
Yeah.
I've seen it
Yeah.
all.
I'm telling you, you do get to see so much. And it's so helpful, but it can be so simple if we just take the action and really look at ourselves. And that's the hardest place to look is to say, back in the day, I used to say, congratulations, because you put yourself exactly where you are. Now, if that congratulations feel like a slap, then we need to adjust some things because you created that. And it's okay to say that you don't want that anymore. But a lot of times we've been told to destroy whatever we don't want anymore, to hate it. We see this in relationships. We see this in friendships. We see this in the community. We see this at our jobs. We see this with countries. We see this with leaders. And they're told, if I no longer like this, I'm going to tear it down. The thing I once loved, the thing I once cared for, now I hate it. this job I was at home crying for. Now I hate this job. I hate the people there, and nothing is good there. How could that be? How could that be? You know?
Two. I'm gonna take 2 questions before we get out of here. We've seen one. Okay. All right. Great. All right. This question: why do we agree to something when we can't remember? All right.
If you remembered, it would defeat the purpose of the experience. Imagine if we all came in knowing everything.
Yeah.
What would be the point?
Yeah.
So the beautiful surrender is, I know that I created something that I can't fully remember the details, but I'm not a victim. And my higher self is going to continue to reveal the bits and pieces that are relevant to what I'm experiencing.
Yeah.
Because as humans, we undermine this ability to become overwhelmed. And I'll use an example. There have been instances, and I'm sure you could probably relate. There have been instances where I expanded into certain information and I go, oh shit, I can't go back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and my human is like, damn, that's a lot.
That's a lot to take in.
It takes 2 weeks to integrate, right? It takes some time. So trust that your higher self is going to give you what you need when you need it. So you don't need to remember everything.
No, you don't.
It's total presence. It's surrender to the perfection of the contract that you architected.
Yeah. Yeah. And the beauty of that, we say remember, but it's really something that's already with you. It's already with you, and you're unfolding it as you go. You know, it's unfolding as you grow and as you continue on. And here's the beautiful thing about the agreements. You're not locked into them. You can change it. Free will. You can change it. You can change it. How many people, if you think about it, and I'll tell you an example, somebody who might have been born into a very religious family and at one time felt like in their life they wanted to go that path of their parents, you know, into the ministry, bump in or fall in to consciousness, flip the whole script and say, I was thinking this is what I wanted to come to do, but I didn't know that I would have this opportunity to do something else. We do it all the time.
And it has to be experiential.
Yes.
When we are in our totality, the consciousness, our source consciousness, we know that we are everything, but we have to have experiences for us to really know it beyond an absolute knowing, if that makes sense. I can't know that I'm powerful unless I have
a powerful
to recognize and use that power. Somebody testing me in the physical, somebody challenging me. I would have to be able to use that power to go, oh, I'm powerful.
Right. Or being on the other side, have done something to someone else and not realize what the ramifications of it is, because that comes out too. And then you realize, oh my God, I didn't realize that I was capable of inflicting, causing, doing this type of thing. So we do agree with it, because it's kind of like we said, we want to come down here and breathe air and drink water and, you know, have money as currency. These are the agreements, but I really agree with what Erin said. You don't have to really remember. It's not that kind of like, ding, oh, now I remember. No, it's not that kind of remember. It's unfolding as you continue to go and as you continue to grow and see, but it's diluted when you get here, because there's so many different programs that want you to think that your being here is some sort of punishment and some sort of hell. And just imagine, you know, I grew up in the era when Roots came on TV, which I didn't even watch because it was so devastating, you know, as a young child, I'm like, who wants to sit up and
Absorb that.
watch
Right.
this,
Yeah.
And but think about it. That was the extent that most African Americans knew of their history.
Mm.
So imagine if someone is telling you that you were birthed into sin and that has been intertwined through your everyday life. It's a program running in the back of your mind. And so everything you do is from that premise of one, you trying to prove yourself to the world that somehow you're getting out of this sin, which you cannot fully get out of until you die. That's how a lot of people were born into that and activated it through their DNA. But only to imagine, what if you think, you were born in I never forget, there was a man in Colorado. He was homeless, and the reporters found him and was like, we're trying to find you because did you know that you came from a family and they're multi-billionaires and they've been looking for you and this person passed away? That can change your whole perception. That you think you come from this poverty in consciousness person, or this slave mentality, or people who have just constantly have never been free on the planet, always been suppressed on the planet, never know how to do anything correct, to you have been elevated to there is a vastness of your lineage, and you come from a long lineage that is capable of doing any and all things on the planet. It changes who you are. It changes. Yes, it shatters that facade in front of you. This is how you lift your veil, your own veil that you have over your consciousness, because it expands who you are. You start to think, wait a minute. I don't have to look at myself as someone who's always been broken, who's always been cast away. I can look at myself in other ways that I can see myself and be.
Excellent. I have a super chat. Shout out to everybody who sent super chats. I got one specifically for Erin and one specifically for Miss Blue, and we're gonna get out of here. I'm gonna ask Miss Blue super chat first. They want to know, Miss Blue, what do you believe the ultimate purpose of Source putting us in the Matrix is? And then I'll get to Erin super chat.
What a beautiful question. Well, first of all, I don't believe Source put us in the Matrix. The Matrix is created by individuals who have come to the planet based on what their own soul has called them to do. Now, that those individuals who have come to the planet of what we call the Matrix, because there's a part of it that, the Matrix just means the womb. So we have been put in, if you want to look at it that way, into the womb of Earth to see if we can be those creators that we know ourselves to be. So the ultimate purpose, it really resides in you. Your ultimate purpose here is really for you to be, and you get to decide what your soul's calling is for that beingness, because it requires, there's nothing else that really is required. Everything that we're doing here, this is just like some extra bonus. We are all finishing up work that we either did not complete in a past life. Maybe we were killed right before we were going to do it, or maybe we got sick before we were going to do it, or somehow we allowed ourselves to believe that we could not complete these missions. And so many of us, why so much about mental disturbances happening on the planet right now is because I personally know these memories are coming full circle, and we're really being called and given the opportunity. Do you want to move forward? Do you really want to be? And if you do, this is another opportunity for you to really continue to move forward, because the soul doesn't see this as one life. It's a never ending story.
Excellent.
And so, yeah.
Excellent. Wow. All right, we're gonna get to the next question. Super chat. This is for Erin.
Let's see what we got.
It says, Erin, I'm a medium, have a LLC, been in the medical field for 20 years. Can you give me advice on growing my LLC as I grow with my gifts? Okay. All right.
Just reading her energy right now.
Good. Take your time. Take your time. Yeah.
What's coming through for you is a development in your confidence on your unique expertise, right? So many people are showing up in this space in a different way, identifying and getting really clear on what you do well, right? I see you as a medical intuitive. So your time in the medical field has prepared you to use some of that information, some of that school of thought, some of those things, but integrate it, right? Integrate it with the spiritual healing. So you have traditional healing and you have spiritual healing. You want to bring these two things together. I'm not exactly sure where you are in a practical sense of what you have set up in terms of, a session or something that somebody can book with you, or if you're going to do in-person work, this type of thing. Get very clear on your value add. Know exactly how you're going to serve people. This is going to give you confidence, but also it's going to activate a frequency in your field that says, I am ready to serve you, right? I am ready to serve you. I'm not concerned about what other people are doing, what other bells and whistles and modalities and that type of thing in the healing landscape. This is my value add. This is what I do. This is how I work with spirit, and I'm ready to serve. Now, okay, this is good. Spirit wants to give you this. Don't worry about who or how the people are going to come. So many people do this when they start a business. And this is why in the non-physical realm, clients are actually our clients. We have soul contracts with them, right? Every single person that I work with, every person that I call in, my higher self and their higher self goes, hey, we need to meet in the physical because you have a unique expertise that will understand how to work with this frequency. It works like that. Don't honor what you have and you let source do the matchmaking. So fully commit to showing up, right? That's the grounded action we've been talking about today. Fully devote yourself to your purpose, and source will be doing the rest.
Yes.
So if this is creating content, if this is going to events and pop-ups, if this is emailing and saying, hey, this is what I do, I'd love to come on your podcast or your show, but you have to devote yourself. One last thing that's coming through, and this is for multiple people.
Yeah.
Don't look for anyone to validate you.
There you go.
In
Yes.
Go, Erin. There you go.
And what I mean is,
Okay.
for an example, if someone reaches out to me and they're like, oh, they want to come on my podcast or they want to do something with me, the first thing I'm going to look at is, are you really devoted to your mission?
Yeah.
Are you working? Are you creating? Are you producing? Are you going to the end and the end and the end of what's in your soul before you go, oh, hey, Brother Rich or Erin or whoever, validate me and put me on. Don't try to get put on. Let source put you on. But you gotta,
come on.
Yes.
you gotta, this is, you can't fake this passion.
No.
Right? You can't fake this commitment. That's what I would say to my folks who are wanting to really leave a job and step into does it really come from your heart? If it comes from your heart, I promise you will wake up every single day and devote your total whole full self.
Yes.
Indeed.
Powerful.
Yo, I was talking to I had an interview yesterday with a gentleman named Brother Yosef, and I told him that I'm thankful after doing this for so long. I still feel like a kid in a candy store. And every time I don't feel that way, my higher self tells me what I have to do to continue to feel that way. And I follow those instructions and I continue to feel that way. And tonight's no different. I feel like a kid in a candy store. I get excited. I'll be rubbing my hair. I'm talking. I'll be excited. I'm so excited. Listen, before we get out of here, I want to run this by y'all because we're about to get out of here, family. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I want to run this by y'all. I want to ask a question to Miss Blue and Erin. A real quick question. This is personal.
Here goes another one, Erin.
I know.
What place? And I'm gonna answer it first, right? I'm just interested. And like I said, I'm a kid in the candy store, y'all. So I act like this. There's a reason why I act like this. What place reinforces your vibration that you have experienced in this room. And I'm gonna give you an example with me.
Mhm.
When I walk into Barnes and Noble, yo, it's like, oh, I'm like, oh. Yo, when I walk in Barnes and Noble, yo, it's so peaceful. I'm like, oh shit, I love this place. There's no place that I've walked into like Barnes and Noble. And then there's not, I got it popping in the 90s and 2000s, so I'm a little older. I'm not in my 20s no more. So people in their 20s, they may not know what Barnes and Noble is.
Yeah.
Barnes and Noble, when I was young, it was the place to be. So that was where I was at, and I felt so at home in Barnes and Noble. But I'm just curious, it's just curiosity. What place reinforces your vibration, Erin and Miss Blue? What place?
I really love the ocean, but I love coffee shops.
Starbucks or just any coffee shop?
Coffee shops that play like really good music.
Yes.
And I can just get into a flow, almost like a trance state. I'm on my laptop, I'm working, I could just totally lose myself. I love coffee shops.
Yeah.
That does it for me.
For me, I'm gonna tell you, I definitely can relate to the Barnes and Nobles. I love that. Libraries, Barnes and Nobles, coffee shops, museums.
Museums, yeah. Oh,
yeah, museums. Yeah, that does it for me. I just, when I am in a museum, I am in
the Akash.
The Akash. I am truly in the Akash and able to just, I remember when I went to go see the largest Sphinx in the free world, which is in Philadelphia. It's in the Met Museum. And I went in there and it just, anytime I can get, if I'm traveling and there's a museum, I don't care how small, I don't care what kind it is, I just want to go in there, because it is like walking into the Akashic Records, the Hall of Records. And Excellent. That just, woo, I'm good for another 20 years,
Indeed. And I want to ask that because we're talking about discovering our identity and what makes our identity comfortable. And it's important we discover who we are and what gets us going. So when we walk into a place, we should be able to feel what makes us, resonates with us and what doesn't, and so on and so forth. So glad I asked that. Listen, please leave your contact information for the people. Oh man, what a show, magnificent show. I mean, y'all are absolutely magnificent at what y'all do. I am definitely grateful to have you on my show and share this information with the people. Let the people know what you're doing, where you're going at. Well, I know, Erin, you got something with Mount Shasta, right?
Ooh.
Yeah. I've got 75 people coming to Mount Shasta in about 2 weeks. And we are going to be totally immersed in nature on a private campus. And it's the same place that I think it's scientist Dr. Emoto did
his work at
some work with water, and this is the most crystalline water in the world, he said.
Yes.
We're staying right on that same property.
Wow.
But I have a deep history with Mount Shasta. I've had beings from inner earth come up, meet me, activate me, take me to stargates, collapse grids, and work, so I'm going to be doing a lot of Stargate technology with that. Now, head to my website. The thing sold out in 24 hours, but we're going to live stream.
Okay.
I'm calling day one of it the Ascended Masters Conference.
Oh, wow.
You'll be able to access that virtually while we're in Mount Shasta. But yeah, that's coming up. And I'm low-key nervous to go to Shasta because when you go to Shasta, shit's getting real.
Yes.
But we'll see what happens.
Oh, that is going to be so powerful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow.
So yeah, ErinLyonsOfficial.com, Erin Lyons TV on YouTube.
Yeah. Wow.
Miss Blue?
Yes. Well, I have the All About Frequency 8-week class that's coming up, and we're just going to be diving in and working with frequency. It is sold out, 7 times sell out. Woo! So congratulations. That's a long story, but I'm excited for that, for those classes. And You can find me at the Soulful Oracle on YouTube there, and also on Instagram at the remix_radio. That was my past life. We still moving in that past life era, and moving forward. Yes. And it was a joy meeting you, Erin. You are welcome to come on my platform anytime you like. Anything that you're doing, I think you're incredible. Is really beautiful.
You
Beautiful.
as well. I love the clarity of your channel, the purity of your essence. So we definitely have some co-creations in the field. We'll have to.
Yes, I
we'll
can
have to
see
talk.
that. Yeah, we'll have. I can't wait for you to that Mount Shasta. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to try to get me a virtual ticket for that one to sit in. I would love it. I love it.
You know what's interesting, Erin? You talking about Mount Shasta now. Blue Pill's been telling me about Mount Shasta for years. He takes annual trips there.
Mhm.
The topic of the show tonight, the I Am.
Mm.
You have you ever heard of Saint Germain?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
One of the ascended masters that I think govern over Mount Shasta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's quite a few of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. We're talking about that. Shout out to Saint Germain. I actually got his book right here. So
Okay.
That's a powerful one. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
so a lot of the things that I talk about tonight was the I'll read one sentence. Ye cannot serve two masters. Why is this so? Because there's only one intelligence, one presence, one power that can act, and that is the presence of God acting in you. When you turn to the outer manifestation and give all kinds of expressions and appearances power, you are attempted to serve a false usurping master, because the outer expression can only find an appearance through the use of God's mighty energy. Hallelujah! Hallelujah! Tell me that
one book recommendation. I want to give
please
one
do.
book recommendation.
Please do.
Okay, actually two. Okay.
Please do. Please do.
If you don't know Elliot Eli Jackson, he's the only channeler that I personally work with. You
Okay.
want to get his books, The Sapiential Discourses. This information, it's the fact that the information on the planet is just insane. It's just insane. He channels Source. Then what was the other one I was going to mention? A Course in Miracles. Really?
Oh yeah, I've had that. Yes.
What's that?
A Course in Miracles.
It's sort of like a new age channeling of Yeshua's teachings, this type of thing. But there's one teaching that you need to know, and it's about the atonement.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
I'm not going to give it away, but you learn about the atonement. And everything to do about the multidimensional nature of the I Am and disconnecting from the illusion.
Yes.
That's it. The atonement.
Yep. The atonement. And tell you how to integrate back safely. Tell you your pathway safely. Yeah, I read that book years ago. Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, okay. Yo, family,
we're done. We promise.
We're done.
That being said, Miss Blue, Erin, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Brother Rich.
I will see you soon. Take care, y'all.
Peace and love. Ciao.
All right. Family, I will be back Monday. Hopefully, I'm trying to get Dr. Drew Pookerman on Monday. I'm not sure, but I will be back Monday with some guests. I'm not sure. Hopefully, it's Drew Pookeram. I'm a contact, but I will be back Monday. Enjoy your weekend, family. With that being said, absolutely amazing show tonight. Have a good night. See y'all on Monday. Peace and blessings, family.